name's Amari, and this is our summary review for the movie Night Swim, which just came out on January 4th. So, to summarize the film, Ray Waller at one time was a top professional baseball player, but then he was diagnosed with MS, and that pretty much put him in early retirement. But, on a positive note, because Ray's no longer traveling and has to worry about getting traded to different teams, it has allowed him and his family to settle in. His wife, Eve, is now able to stop building a home, go back to school to become a special education teacher, and she even gets a job where she works at her son Elliot's school, working in the office. And as for the kids, Izzy can now not have to worry about moving all the time and really getting settled into potentially being an athlete like her dad, but with her meeting a cute boy, she decides to pick swimming over baseball. As for Elliot, he still hasn't had his growth spurt, so he's kind of the runt of the family, but he has high hopes that maybe he can follow his father's footsteps and get really into baseball. But just as the family's settling in, Ray has a new doctor set up and is starting to use the pool in the back in order to do some low-impact exercises. He starts to get miraculously better to the point where it seems like a miracle, but like any miracle, there's always something that comes at a cost, and once the family learns of the sacrifice, so comes the question if they're willing to pay it or not. Never mind is Ray, in order to potentially get back into his career, willing to make the sacrifice required. Very short review for this. The highlight for me is that even though a lot of horror movies just throw in the families just so that there's somebody who could live out the situation and be the victim, I wouldn't say when it comes to the Waller family they feel like they're just fodder for whatever the victim has for them, for lack of a better way of putting it. There is a means of getting invested in them because you do have to feel for Ray because he was a talented baseball player in MS, as I'm sure many remember from when the Ice Bucket Challenge happened and everyone's story came out. It takes away people's lives little by little, and it's not just a physical thing but a mental and emotional thing as well, because as we see with Ray, baseball was everything to him. I wouldn't say it's his personality, but it's what he was good at. It's what made him feel successful, made him feel valued, and taking that away from him, it means having to shift gears. And even if he's only in his 30s or 40s, shifting gears at any age after you built your whole life around something is a challenge. And what makes this film even better in a way is that even though he's going through all this mentally and physically, he still very much loves his family, he loves his wife, and he's trying to get back to where he was so that he doesn't just have this love for them, but he also can still love and enjoy being himself. And mind you, I might be giving more depth to this than there is, but I like that. And then adding that his wife and him still have a romantic relationship. She's working on something as an individual, so she's just not his wife. The kids have lives going on, including the two siblings have their own little back and forth. And you really get a well-built family for a film like this. But with that said, for us, the villain, if you want to call it that, is not that great. And on top of that, part of the villain's thing with the way that it tries to get people to drown into the pool, it uses a lot of people who are past victims of the pool, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why would the victims of the pool bring more people down there except one of them? I mean, they give you a real basic explanation when it comes to the lore of why this pool is so evil, but again, it's so simple and basic that considering how much time and effort is put into the family that, was supposed to be invested in, not presenting something that is a interesting threat to them, I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but it definitely is a weird kind of switch between what we usually criticize in horror movies versus what we don't, because usually it's the villain's real interesting but you don't care about the people who are the victims, but instead it's the other way around this time around. But overall, while Night Swim will ultimately be forgotten after it gets a small pop from appearing on one of the streaming platforms, I do think if you're someone who enjoys horror movies, especially if you want to see them in the theater, this gives you something to hold you over until something that's a little bit more, that has better longevity comes out.